There is a way to make the speed of the fist exceed the factor, and it can do more powerful power than a high-speed revolving bullet. As we all know, the speed of Yamaha is 11 to 25 kilometers. Then it only takes to reach the speed of rotation of each joint more than 100 kilometers. This may not be possible in front of normal people, because the number of joints that can be moved at the same time is far from enough. But if you use 17 pieces of spine to participate in the attack, then you can break through the barrier of the factor of the fist. However, Chris is not very satisfied with the fist he just threw. He is not 100% sure that he can penetrate the muscle fibers of the primitive man. The potential of this move should be much more than that. Under the reminder of the King of the Sea, Chris understood, in a second, under the attack of the super factor. With the unique skill of the bow and arrow, plus the heaviest part of the human body, then you can form a knife with a heavy seal, using the super factor to hit this move. Then, the peak may be a monkey. In front of him, I heard a familiar voice from the two. That's the 146-year-old Chinese martial arts champion, King of the Sea. This is the only person standing at the top of the martial arts. King of the Sea questioned their speech. It's a good thing to have such a perfect speech for such a simple move. Then he did an exhibition. He asked King of the Sea to take out his egg and hang it on the rope. Then he fired a light attack at this egg. Before the egg reacted in a short moment, the shell was separated. Cool, King of the Sea told the two. There are far more than 27 joints that can be moved by the human body. If you want to make the whole speed more powerful, then you have to add more joints, 100, 1,000, even 10,000. No matter what the human body structure in reality is, as long as the imagination is not like this, it can be achieved. Because the imagination of the human body is limitless. King of the Sea's few short words made Chris frustrated after King of the Sea, and the two left. In order to achieve the so-called imagination, Chris started training day and night against the egg. He never believed that imagination could surpass reality, but after a day and a night, he realized the egg was created to protect its own egg. The elephant hid its skin for the fruit on the tree. The wings of the bird and the venomous leaves of the snake are all like this. The next second, his imagination began to spread like the Sia, the joints under the effect of imagination. There are tens of hundreds of extra joints. Then, at this moment, Chris felt that his bones were as hard as steel, and the number is still increasing. It's just a punch in the air, this kind of casual behavior. But it makes Chris tremble. The effect of imagination is so terrible. Hugging his mission, he threw the strongest punch since the break of the egg. The whole building was hit by this punch. Dogs within 5 kilometers were scared to death. The disciples of the Star Society immediately came to see if there was a big explosion. And Chris just told him lightly, "Don't be nervous. This is a feeling he has never had. This will also be the strongest killer to defeat Teak." At the same time, there was a high school student training in the dusk. He imagined an impossible opponent in his mind. To fight, that was the most powerful overlord in history, King of the Dragon. Do you know how shameless Ma Yongqi is? When he was playing scissors with his son, his scissors lost to the fist of Renya. In order to fool Yongqi, he did an unexpected operation. He just bit Renya's fist with scissors. Next second, in shock of Renya, his fingers kept using force against the fist. Then he used scissors to break Renya's fist. The strong pain made Renya give up. The stone in his hand also became dust. The winner became Yongqi, so the defeated Renya can only start to wash the dishes. Outside the door was full of anti-tank soldiers, watching the father and son's every move. That is, at this moment, Yongqi appeared with his chest. "You guys." He asked the soldiers why they were circling around Renya's house in order to give them a lesson. Yongqi lightly punched the anti-tank shield. "Are you going to stop?" After pretending to be forced, he left Renya in the other room, was still struggling with the problem. That is, before father left, he was ready to treat himself to a meal. He didn't know what to wear tomorrow, so the next day, he could only wear his only treasured flower shirt. However, he didn't expect that father treated him to a meal in a 5-star hotel. Renya was hesitating at the door. He also understood that his clothes seemed to be different from this kind of high-class hotel. After a psychological struggle, he finally went in. This is the most luxurious hotel he has ever seen. From the hotel, the spectacular view outside shocked Renya. What was more shocking was his father, because Yongqi, who wears old Beijing shoes every day, he actually put on a graceful suit. And there was no difference in the environment between the hands and the head. Hearing these, Renya couldn't help but, when I was a kid, I didn't have a mother. No one came to teach me manners, not to mention that my biological mother was killed by my biological father. Since then, the only thought in my heart is to step by step to defeat my biological father. A few words made Yongqi's old face itching to bite his teeth. Even so, after all, he was invited by Yongqi. He still restrained his anger and invited Renya to the table. The dinner of the two fathers began like this. Yongqi first gave Renya a cup of red wine before the meal, then, step by step, teach Renya the usual table manners and wine culture. This is also the first time since Renya grew up I've heard of this kind of thing, and it's still in Yangji's mouth. I thought the warm scene would continue like this. But after drinking 2 cups of wine, Renya is still proud. Should I do this? Or like this? He learned martial arts and boxing. Which one is stronger? The black-skinned man in front of me. His name is Mike Aslan. When he was 3 years old, he joined the army and followed his father to the battlefield. After the meeting, he also became the pinnacle of the boxing world. In his career, he never lost, and in all the battles, he always won. And his opponent today, he is the 5-time champion of Chinese martial arts. 4,000 years of history, the champion never practices boxing. What he usually does most of the time is not training. In the last match, after he knocked Adam down, because the young people rejected his training method, so the hunter made a line. He wants to use them martial arts that the young people look down on, to knock down all the boxers standing on Thering. From this moment on, he challenged the whole boxing world. As the countdown ended, the match between Aslan and the hunter officially began. Aslan was constantly moving his body under this flexible pair. His weight seems to have become as light as a bird. In the next second, a left straight punch directly hit the hunter and knocked him to the ground. The audience thought Aslan easily took the lead, but the hunter through this punch has already seen through Aslan's bottom. He constantly measured Aslan's body and got the most basic skill. Although Aslan's strength is very good, but his grip is really bad. As the 5-time champion of Chinese martial arts, just from the touch of the blow, he directly determined the opponent's grip, then hesitantly walked to Aslan's body. In the next second, what everyone didn't expect happened. With a loud bang, the hunter actually hit Aslan's fist with his head. As we all know, the hardest bone in the human body is the tip of the head, and the fist held tight is made up of 27 large and small bones. A fist that has not been physically trained, destined to be crushed by the hunter's hard head with the shock of everyone's eyes. The hunter showed a very strange throwing posture, although he didn't understand what the hunter was going to do next. But all the audience understood. The next blow must be devastating. The Aslan in front of him also exposed his cowardice for the first time. In the next second, the hunter's heavy punch hit Aslan's head, and this is the moment he used the skill to block directly crushed. From this day on, the reputation of the king of boxing has echoed throughout the boxing world, and there is only one trainer that the hunter does every day. That is the infinite deep squat Jama. In the boxing hall, he never trains fists and sandbags. Since the last time, no one in the boxing hall is willing to fight with him anymore. The peaceful life was interrupted by an uninvited guest. He was a famous Kaisa all over the boxing world. He came to Wanru Zhou Jilun, suddenly went to your house, Tolistan to you sing. There is only one purpose for Kaisa to come here. After hearing about Aslan before, he wanted to see the person who defeated him with his own eyes. I was convinced at first sight. It's been 40 years in this world, I've never seen such a big hit. You said you wanted to go home. Can I talk to you for a while? Aslan was very angry with his arrival, because he hates being interrupted during training. Even so, Kaisa still wanted to see Aslan's strength with his own eyes. And this time, Aslan agreed. He used his right hand to put on the boxing gloves, and then in Kaisa's shock he used the power of the boxing gloves to break the boxing gloves. Those who have learned boxing know boxing gloves can never be used directly by their fists. The worst case is that there is only friction. That is, after seeing this scene, Kaisa officially invited Aslan to join his team to participate in the competition. The winner will have millions of dollars as our reward. The time is set for tomorrow, when the strongest primitive man who has slept for 2 years wakes up. What is the first thing to do? That is, he is eager to get the warmth of a woman. Since the day of the comet hitting the Earth in the Jurassic era, countless volcanoes erupted and all creatures were extinct. 10,000 years later, the modern archaeology team found their remains of the previous overlords in a cave. What is even more unbelievable is that there is a human next to him, and it presents a strange posture of fighting with each other. Humans appeared in the same era as dinosaurs. It's a matter of course, so this human was brought back together for research. At this moment, all the experimenters understand. This is definitely a major discovery that subverts history, because this human-like creature, it still has life in order to try to bring it back to life. The lab not only adjusted the appropriate temperature, it also soaked it in vinegar leaves that are extremely similar to the experience. Not only does it make it feel the rhythm of rising and falling, it also presents a feeling of being in the cold water. As an experimenter, Alan made a fatal mistake. He opened the door of the freezer and came to the dead Tyrannosaurus. He wanted to be the first human to eat Tyrannosaurus. And on the other side, other experimenters watched the results of the experiment. They observed the composition of the muscle fiber of Tyrannosaurus. It actually matches the composition of the unsaturated substance in the human stomach. That is to say, it was the so-called peck that was eating Tyrannosaurus Alan put the stolen Tyrannosaurus meat into the frying pan, with the sizzle of the grill. The accident happened at this time. The smell of barbecue drifted into the deep peck nose. This familiar scent actually woke him up. At this moment, he was just sitting there. In his eyes, there was a light and foggy aura, a cross-sectional straight line, the dazzling white light on the wall. For him, it was all things that didn't exist a moment ago. He took off the electric wire on his body surrounded in an unknown place. There is only one thing he is familiar with. That is the smell. And this smell is from the end of this small path. Enjoying the delicious food, Alan turned around and sat down. Behind him stood a voice he was most familiar with. After a few seconds, a strong sense of fear surrounded his whole body, and his only weapon, there was only a small knife in his hand, but there was a pistol in the drawer. But with the pistol, there seemed to be no chance, just in his heart. After struggling, Peck took the dinosaur meat in his hand and swallowed it. Then he smelled Alan like a beast. Perhaps he noticed that the human flesh was not delicious. Peck turned around. That is, Alan, who was dead at this time. He took out the pistol in the drawer. This little action successfully attracted Peck's attention. He looked at Alan with the eyes of a predator. Looking closer and closer to Peck, Alan had to pull the trigger, but he was easily avoided and appeared behind him. In the next second, the frightened Alan fired 3 shots at Peck. But as a fighter of the Jurassic period, Peck's abs could not be penetrated by a 9-centimeter bullet. Instead, he took out the bullet and threw it at Alan. This kind of power is much more powerful than the first shot. Alan was scared to death. He continued to shoot at Peck, but he was shot by Peck's 2 palms. He thought his life was coming to an end. He didn't know that Peck slowly released him like a toy. Peck, who was free, walked out of the door and opened the freezer again. Peck, who came in pursuit, walked straight in because there was his favorite food, the previous king dragon. At the same time, Alan closed the door, so this scary monster was imprisoned. Here and there are guards outside the door. They want to see what kind of monster this awakening is. 55,000 people rushed to a young man to give him unprecedented power. Everyone is waving the most basic right-hand screams spread to the whole venue, even a word of sigh from each person. After the amount of sincerity, there will be a great impact, and their purpose is only one: to cheer for this battle that can't lose. Peck versus Peck's strongest battle. The battle is at the moment. Peck, who is good at empty gloves, moves. Each of his joints is bent on this 3-meter-tall monkey. Peck laughs. The frontal kick burst out. The original man never does fake movements. The attack from 200 million years ago hit Peck. The ground kick kicked Peck away in Peck's cognition. This feeling is like being hit by a truck. Peck stands up. The joints of the fist spread out with the imagination. The feeling is clear, which is the change of Peck's posture at this time. This familiar stance looks like a stranger. That is the strongest human anti-animal. A fist burst out in the blink of an eye. The image that appeared in Peck's mind. It was the strongest enemy from the past. The dragon of the king of the king. Lai and Guo Hai Huang understand. This is Kusuko's practice. Macho fist that surpasses Yin-Su beast. Fell. Every audience's enthusiasm was completely ignited. This is Peck's 200 million years. I felt an unfamiliar pain for the first time. Even Peck's body like this. After the speed attack of the Mach level will also fall without support, and there is a price for the first. This kind of extreme power will make the user's fist unable to withstand this attack. This price is the empty hand as the fist of life. Even so, Kusuko is still full of enthusiasm. From this moment on, every move used is based on a brand new formula. However, when everyone thinks Kusuko wins, an inevitable problem appears. The joints used by Kusuko have burst. However, the injury of the original Peck. But it seems to recover. Humans are shocked at this moment. After being hit by the Super Yin-Su several times, he can still stand up. There is no way, at this moment. The attacker is kneeling on the ground. The hit person is looking down on the other party. To know that Peck's former opponents are all primal creatures, so naturally, there is a feeling of primal creatures, 15 tons of monster attack. It is impossible to be weaker than Kusuko under 100 Kobur. Peck put his body close to the ground. He wants to use the kind of Ganfei hunter. Everyone on the field dare not make a sound at this moment. They are all worried about Kusuko under the field. Can take this strongest attack. Kusuko stood up. He wants to use only his own Mach. In the past, he has been thinking about how to hit the opponent, how to become more powerful and fast. Toto hit more powerfully. He trained his muscles first to hit more effectively. He learned to relax and let go and imagine the curved bone as a whip. Thus born latest, strongest, best, the most evolved original. Now I am surprised myself because I have only thought about hitting. I have only thought about hitting, and the final form that came to the end. It was a blow that could not be avoided. Peck fell to use this attack. His right fist was completely destroyed. Kusuko's expression went to Peck's body. The original man lost this time. The one standing is me. This is the victory that everyone gave me. I can't reach it without killing. Thank you for this. Just when everyone thought Kusuko had won, Kusuko fell. Peck turned over like sleeping. Peck was not knocked down. This battle is over in the wild. The beast will take a short break to wait for the opponent to stop breathing. Since it slowly eats, it means that in Peck's cognition, Kusuko has lost the ability to fight and become a prey. Tears flowed out of his eyes. Like last time, in front of food that he is reluctant to eat, he will cry for the other party. Kusuko knows that the loser is himself. Although his tears can't control, but still pay attention to the reason to be recognized by Peck. Maybe he has no regrets. Next year, Peck is full of enthusiasm with his own food. At this moment, Kusuko can no longer bear to fall. He has Medea frank answer. Everyone knows what will happen soon. However, the next result is unexpected. This time, in front of his own prey, Peck did not choose to eat all. He knelt down in front of Kusuko. Full of ambition, he kept a trace of courage at the last moment after the game. 50,000 people left the venue. They are proud of this warrior who fought to the end.